So we got one of the most commonly asked questions. I'm making a video on my thoughts on the Twitch drops, not just the Twitch drops though, but specifically, I guess the hot topic is the Feldrake. Okay. So on November 28th, which is very far from now, by the way, you're going to be able to obtain this item again. Now, if you don't know what this item is, it is actually a TCG mount. Yeah, right there is a pretty good example of what it looks like. It's awful. Honestly, it's honestly one of the worst looking mounts I've ever seen. It doesn't even really look fell. And I think that like literally any updated mount would look better than these old mounts. But I do kind of like some of the old ones, but I've just never really liked this mount. I know it's a TCG mount, but I would literally not, even if I had it, I wouldn't use it. So that's my opinion on the mount itself, which I don't know if anybody actually cares about that part of it, but I always thought this was a very bad looking mount. But I do recognize why a lot of people would be, you know, they would want this mount because it's rare, a TCG mount, first of all, and it was, a mount. People like mounts. I don't really feel that way about mounts. I never really have, but people like to collect mounts, so it's understandable. So now we have some new developments in the World of Warcraft online community where they're using this functionality called Twitch drops for WoW. This is, I believe, the first time they've ever done it. I know they did it with like Hearthstone and other games, Blizzard themselves. But yeah, so the way it works is basically you just have to have your account linked to your BattleNet, your Twitch account, and then I'm pretty sure you straight up just watch streams, and it's supposed to be like a drop, which is some stupid gaming colloquialism where like, just randomly something happens. Oh wow. And so it's basically meant to be like a system where you're, encouraged to be active because you never know when this big thing is going to happen. I don't know. I've never participated in it. This whole like gamification of Twitch, I actually think it's really good for the creators, but it is just cheesy and lame. I have no interest in any of it. And I don't really like Twitch as a platform, like kind of the behind the scenes of it. So I don't really support it or go on there ever, which is maybe strange to hear coming from somebody who streams pretty much for a living. But yeah, it's not the platform I ever wanted to be on. I really don't like the discourse there, and I definitely don't like the kind of stuff going on at the higher levels of Twitch, like the people running. Anyway, don't worry about any of that. But yeah, I'm not a Twitch fan. So my thoughts on this, I couldn't give a shit. I'm not going to participate in it. It couldn't, it would have to be something really special to get me to care about any of this stuff. Certainly some random toys that I don't even know what these things are. I mean, I have enough firework toys and I don't even know what this is. I don't want any of this stuff. I don't even want it. I wouldn't pay for it. I wouldn't get it for free. I have no interest. And that's exactly how I feel about the Feldrake. So you're telling me that I have to watch somebody I don't even watch normally on Twitch to get an item that I don't even want? That's an easy choice. It's not even on my radar. This is not even something I would even consider doing. It would really have to be something special, and there's not really anybody I would watch. I would have to be Grawl, I guess. He's the only dude I would even remotely consider watching on Twitch nowadays that plays WoW. So yeah, no interest in any of this for me personally. I won't be participating, and yeah, no, they would have to really, really, really. I don't even know what this nonsense is, but anyway, yeah, not even remotely interested in any of this stuff. But it's a hot topic for more than just that, because the Feldrake. So we talked about this again. Like I said, it's a TCG mount, which if you guys are new to WoW, you don't even have to really be that new. The TCG stopped in what, Cataclysm? I remember hearing about them canceling it while we were raiding BWD, Blackwing Descent, and that would be Cataclysm. So I think it would probably stop in Cataclysm. I think it started in TBC. So yeah, probably about 5 years it went on, and it was just never really going to catch on. It was kind of just a dumb idea. They probably should have just made Hearthstone back in the day. Obviously, way more valuable money wise for them at this point. The TCG just doesn't work, and they were trying to compete in a landscape that was just it wasn't going to work. So yeah, unfortunately, but the most redeemable thing about the TCG is that you got some really really cool stuff from it. You know what I mean? Like if you're really dedicated to it, you can actually get some crazy items, and one of them was this. Now that's interesting in its own right. I actually have a video on the channel where I bought an item from the TCG just a year and a half ago. And it's funny, somebody recently commented, they're like, They were like, I bet you're upset, basically. And I'm like, this is not a Twitch drop. This is just a toy that I have. And no, of course I'm not upset because it's. So let me tell you my opinion on this whole topic. I will talk about it in two ways. Because one, a lot of people are talking about the idea of the TCG, being kind of not there for a very, very long time. And now it's back again. Okay. And then there's the other topic where to obtain this mount recently, you're talking thousands of United States dollars. So let me tell you my perspective on the second part first. The mount does not cost $3,000. That's just not how it works. Somebody's selling the mount because there's an extremely limited supply of something that is not in publication anymore for $3,000. And you are giving credence to that value by paying it. That's how it works. Okay. It's not that the mount costs $3,000. So all these clickbait publications that are making these articles saying $3,000 mount is now free, that's not how it works. It's a value that is only there because somebody is willing to pay it. The mount is worth $0 if you don't want it, and it's worth whatever the card is cost otherwise. You know what I mean? So it has no inherent value other than people are wanting to buy it for the game. So that's why you see things like the Spectral Tiger. Recently, I made the video on it. Not on the Spectral Tiger, but on this card. I actually have the card with me right here. I made a video on this card. It's actually kind of cool. It was $60, and next to it, Spectral Tiger, $16,000 for a mount. So the mount itself is not worth $16,000. You're an idiot if you pay $16,000 for a mount. Okay, that's just like the way I look at it. And you're an idiot if you paid $3,000 for this absolutely hideous looking mount. I mean, it's one of the worst looking mounts I've ever seen, honestly. The Spectral Tiger is at least awesome looking, but this is so bad looking, it's crazy. To buy this now for $3,000, I don't have a lot of sympathy for anybody complaining about this. Let's put it this way. So anyway, that aside, the fact that you are now getting it for free, well, I could see why like a handful of people who paid $3,000 for it within the last few years would be jealous of everyone else. But you still paid, like, if I was going to pay $3,000 for a mount in a video game, it would have to be something I was willing to do, right? So I paid for it, assuming I was getting it and I was losing $3,000 and I was fine with both. So you got it. You did the first part. You got them out. It's not getting taken away from you. And you were fine with losing the money. I mean, that's it, right? It's not like somebody stole the money from you. You paid for something and you're a fool for doing it, but you chose to do it at one point. Its inherent value hasn't changed. It's still a single mount that looks like crap in a video game. So you wasted your money. I mean, that's just how it is, right? That's the way I look at that. There's not really any two ways around it. You know what I mean? If you don't want to pay $3,000 for a mount, then don't do that. But at one point you thought it was worth it. So you've lost that money now, I guess. I don't know how else to put it. But for everybody else who doesn't waste $3,000 on a video game, on a single item that they can only use in certain places, yeah, I actually have to say this is a really interesting concept. Because the other part we're going to talk about now is about the TCG in general. So I never liked the idea of the TCG because I felt like it was going to encourage what we have just talked about, where people are going to just be price gouging items that shouldn't be rare or even interesting to get. But I love the concept of things that have been removed from the game, returning. This is like my top. If there was one thing I would say about WoW that is universally, in my eyes, like bad and irredeemable about the product at times, is that there is thousands of things in the game that are no longer accessible. Okay. And you can blur the line a little bit when you talk about things like challenge mode gear, because that was a reward very clearly demonstrated as a like a prowess reward, something that you would get for being accomplished. Everybody knew that it was getting removed. Everybody knew how to get it, and a lot of people got it. The people who didn't play, well, unfortunately, you missed the time that occurred. So that's not good. But this is different. This is not something that you had to play the game for. This is not something that you had to be skilled for or complete activities within the game for. This is literally something completely unrelated to the game that Blizzard created artificial value out of and offered an in-game reward for. You cannot get this in-game. Besides the Black Money Auction House, you cannot play the game and get it. You cannot buy it. You cannot do anything that the game would normally offer as solutions to getting this mount other than getting it in a card pack. or buying it from somebody who did get it in a card pack. Okay. So this is a terrible idea regardless, but they removed it from the game, and now it's got this mystique to it that should not exist. I don't understand why that kind of thing should exist on things that are not actually supposed to have mystique. It's literally just a random mount from a TCG. Like it was rare, I'm sure, at one point, but now it's like, oh, I can't believe I can't get this rare. You know what I mean? And I think there's so many things in Classic, and really to some degree also TBC and through Cataclysm, that should not have been removed from the game. And this is absolutely one of them. The TCG items have to be returned to the game. I think 100% they need to be. And this is not how I would do it, but if this is how they want to do it, let's do that. That's fine. If you think that this is a suitable solution to this problem, well, it's better than nothing, because there is so many cool things, not only just from the TCG, certainly from the Cataclysm removal of things from the classic world, and also old Naxxramis's removal, Wrath of the Lich King's removal, that are no longer obtainable. Patterns, pets, mounts, the ZG Tiger. Let me know how I can get that. Dude, tell me right now that you're going to make the next season of Mastery, all the stuff that you get from that can cross over to your main account. We're going to be doing classic streams. Like, I'm going to be on there all the time. That is what I want the most in the game. The removal of the game that I used to love and all the content that was in it that's unique and gone now, back returning to the game. And the TCG is certainly not at the chief among it, but I'm using this opportunity to also bring that into it, because it is something that you should never have had this opportunity. Because think about this, right? Would you pay $3,000 for a mount in the game that you can actually get? I mean, I certainly wouldn't. I guess there's some insanely rich people who might. Like, money is no value to them. Like, if you could tell me, would you pay $3,000 to get like Invincible or a rare mount in the game, like Yogg's Mimiron's head or whatever, and then you don't have to farm it for years? I mean, maybe some people would do that. But to me, it's not even, I mean, I'm not sure $3,000 would be how many months of game time? Like, it's just absurd. This is just not reality to me, to ever pay this much money for a mount, a single mount. But I fundamentally don't really understand the whole mount collecting thing at its heart. But anyway, yeah. So this is my thoughts on it. I think it's really, really, really good idea that they're bringing back things that have been removed. And even though this is a small drop in the bucket, it needs to continue. I don't know what these other items are. This might also be from the TCG, these other ones. I don't actually even know what they are. I think they are. But yeah, it is. Yeah. So they're actually also from the TCG. So I just don't really see this as a problem. And so anybody who paid money for it, like the other part of the conversation, you got what you wanted. So if you were only buying it so you could be like, look at how stupid I am that I bought this super rare thing and now I can show it off in front of all the noobs. Well, that's not a very admirable thing to do in the first place, so I can't really sympathize with it. You know what I mean? If you bought, like, I bought this card for 63 United States dollars and I got it, it works. I got the item I wanted from it, and it was exactly, it was everything as expected. So if they gave this out tomorrow, I'm not going to be like mad about it. I got what I wanted and I paid for it when I got it. So if you bought this 2 days ago, maybe you have a complaint. You know what I mean? Like, that kind of sucks. But if you bought it 5 years ago and you paid thousands of dollars for it, you had it for 5 years when nobody else could have it. That's not nothing. So those are my thoughts on that. Let me know what you guys think. I'm sure there'll be some discussion on this, but it's the same. I feel the same way about store mounts and all this stuff too, man. If you want it and you're willing to spend it and you get it afterwards, you have no right to be complaining. If you don't want the mount, if you don't want the things, then stop worrying about what the prices are. Stop worrying about how you obtain them. Just play and have fun. But it's a different conversation than the store mount, obviously. But this is basically the store mount before there was a store. Do you understand that? Like, that is very important to understand. This was the first store mount, except you couldn't fucking buy it from Blizzard. You had to buy it from some other person who got it, luckily, because you were ever unlikely to get this thing if you wanted it, These were the first store mounts, way before there was a store. And frankly, they probably made more money from the TCG than they do from the store mounts. Because to buy even this back in TBC, I'm sure was more than 25 United States dollars. So